What do you think about the Houston apartment owner who lost 3,200 units to foreclosure last week? Start us off, Steve.
So when the Fed rate hike occurred, my biggest concern was basically what's going to happen to all these commercial loans, right? Because the commercial loans are very rarely 25 or 30 years fixed. It's normally like 3, 5, 7 year arms, right? With a balloon at the end. And you got to refinance. And so these people that are borrowing at 2 or 3% and having to get another loan later on at 8% with a higher DSCR, right? Where you have to have even more cushion. How are they going to qualify for this? I think this is the first major one where the guy couldn't get a refinance. The numbers no longer worked with the new loan. It's a pretty devastating number. I think this is the first of what's probably going to be a significant amount of apartments going into foreclosures with just the market we're in. So I think that the apartment values are probably going to be available for 60% of what they are today in the next 6 to 24 months. It's kind of what I foresee in multifamily and potentially commercial as well.
Very good insight. Eric, what about you?
I think it's a natural result of the economic climate that we're in. I mean, we started talking about this probably 6 months ago when we saw interest rates rising, and there was speculation about how it would impact specifically larger multifamily, syndicators and owners that might be carrying a substantial amount of bridge loans, right? Like we specifically talked about this situation. We also look up some of the articles. One of the headlines in a Houston Gazette talks about rat infested apartment owner, right? Like it doesn't appear that this particular developer, whoever was managing these units, was doing a very good job of managing the cleanliness. These units were severely under maintained. So, it's the natural result. It's unfortunate for anybody that invested in those units. It's unfortunate for the residents of those units because I'm sure it's going to cause a lot of turnover and uncertainty with, who do they pay their rent to? Do they pay their rent? Do these issues get addressed? So it sucks, but it's going to create an opportunity for somebody else to buy up these 3,200 units, renovate them, get them restabilized, and that's the nature of our economy.
Great insight. I love the fact that you dug a little deeper there about the condition of them. I was reading about that earlier today. All right, RJ, what about you? What are your thoughts on this apartment foreclosure?
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a surprise to most of us that have been around for the past decade or so. I mean, we have seen where multifamily, for lack of a better way of putting it, we've all been told if you're in single family, you're supposed to move on to multifamily. And we've seen that to a certain degree, none of these were deals that were being purchased. They were bought on speculation of appreciation and rent raises and the market continuing down the path that it was on. But looking historically, we knew that could not be the case. We were already on the longest upswing ever. And so this eventually had to happen. I think it's unfortunate because I agree with Steve. I think that this is going to just be the trend over the next probably a couple of years because there are too many people that were new to multifamily that got in and purchased incorrectly off of speculation.
Good insight. Good insight. CJ, what you got for us, boss?
Yeah, so look, apartment sales are down the most in 14 years, 74%. You've got a couple $100 billion in debt that's going to need to be refinanced or paid off here within the next couple of years. Look, we all were kids at one point. You guys remember the game Musical Chairs? There's always that first person that doesn't get a seat. All right. Whoever this guy was, he's the first one. But there's a whole lot of people still left in the game. And I think a lot of people need to accept that the commercial industry right now is frankly in free fall. And people aren't going to be able in a rising interest rate environment because like Steve said, right, like these adjustable rate mortgages, you got adjustable rate mortgages and you also got construction loans that generally people don't even have permanent financing in place before they even start a development project. A development project that takes years to get even accomplished. If you're doing a 200 unit apartment project or development that's got to be rezoned, all these different things, that could take 2-3+ years before you can even break ground on a project like that. I think this is going to lead to some catastrophic moments for a lot of people that don't have a seat, or they don't have the liquidity to create sustainability long term. And the last thing, I know I'm going long, but last thing, on commercial loans, for people who have commercial loans, if you're talking to banks right now, you'll know this. Generally speaking, before you could get these loans at 70-80% generally of value. Right now, most of these banks won't loan past 60% on these large scale commercial projects, which means only developers who have heavy liquidity are able to take these down. So all these syndicators and stuff like that, I think RJ just mentioned these people that got into the business over the years. Look, I hope when the music stops, everybody's got a seat.